Hello. Welcome to the.
No gavel.
I'm sorry. I know there's no. I don't have a gavel today.
There's a gavel.
There we go. Hello. Welcome to the December 9th, 2024 meeting of the Carver School Committee. If everyone could please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, no, those little voices out there. So again, welcome everyone. Just want to mention that this meeting is in person, will be available on Area 58, but we're not on Zoom tonight. So you're going to start with recognitions?
Okay, yeah, we're excited to do a couple recognitions this evening. First, we're going to start with some MCAS recognitions. This evening, we want to recognize our students who've gone above and beyond by receiving a score of exceeding expectations on the MCAS exam last spring. An accomplishment that reflects their dedication, perseverance, and commitment to learning. Students, your success is a testament to your hard work, curiosity, and resilience. We are so proud of what you've achieved. We know that this is just the beginning of the great things you're going to do. To the parents, teachers, and supporters in the audience, thank you for your unwavering encouragement and support of your students. Your role in fostering these students' growth is invaluable, and today we share a moment of pride with you. Congratulations to each and every one of you. You're truly exceptional. And at this point, I'm going to read off everybody's names. If they could come forward, we'll present them with their certificate, and then we'll do a picture of all our MCAS Exceeding Expectations students. Save. All right, David Savastano. For achieving exceeding expectations on the science and CAS exam. Come on up. Have you stayed right up 5 minutes? Go in front of you right now. Corbin Perry for exceeding expectations on the science exam. Caleb Place for exceeding expectations. Gwyneth Reed for exceeding expectations in math. Trey Cito for exceeding expectations in math. Perfect time. Congratulations. Adriana Sudiro for exceeding expectations. Ella Tulin, and Ella actually had a perfect score on the ELA. Anthony Torps for exceeding expectations in Tyler for exceeding expectations in both English and math. Paige Boss for exceeding expectations in English and math. Bennett Wallace for exceeding expectations in William Biafe for exceeding expectations in English. Graham Wood for exceeding expectations in English. Forward into a picture. We'll slide in, we get a little tight together. Suppose shorter people on the front. Why don't we bring 2 rows? Already 2 rows. 2 rows, 2 rows. Some people come forward, you'll slide over, you'll slide there. See if we get everybody in a picture, get a little tighter. Yeah. There we go. Over here. People can get up and take pictures up, take an angle. I think we're good. Congratulations, everybody. Woo! For our second recognition this evening, we'd like to recognize our high school football team who went to the Final Four. A few years back, when we instituted the playoff system that currently exists, the school committee established the precedent of any team that reaches the Final Four, we'd invite the team into a school committee meeting and have them sign their Final Four banner. So we're going to give the players all the opportunity to sign their banner. But before that, I just want to do a quick overview of the season. And I'd like to invite up Coach Chris Pabst and also our captains, if they're here, Tegan Zacharuski, Darian King, Jack Balzerani, Jack Reed, and Kim Laranger. I know there's not seats for everybody, but if you guys want to just take... Coach, you can take a seat. Whoever wants to say a few words for the team.
Come on, Jack.
No
We
pressure.
didn't prep them that they were going to have to
No
say a few
pressure.
words. So the team had an outstanding season, finishing 8-4 overall, including exciting wins over Mashpee and West Bridgewater during the regular season. And then during the playoffs, they had great wins over Lynn Voc Tech and Bourne in the Division 8 state tournament and reached the Final Four for the second straight season. And before succumbing to West Boylston in the state semifinals. Overall, it was just an outstanding season. It was a great follow-up to last season. The team just did a great job, really represented the school and the community well. So we want to take the opportunity to thank them. And then also, I guess, I give them the opportunity to have everybody come up and sign the Final Four banner. Coach or any of the players, I don't know if you want to say anything about the season. I know we didn't prep you to do that, but any thoughts, Coach or Tegan?
Come on, Tegan.
He's going to go with Coach.
All right. I appreciate the Carver community for welcoming me into your family. It's been a great experience my first year. Graduating 17 seniors from last year's team, 7 seniors this year, to make the run that we did. I don't think a lot of people thought we could. The athletes and the kids that we have in this school are amazing. The future looks bright. We have a lot of underclassmen that are high-level caliber right now. We're going to be fun to watch in the future, and hopefully we can come up here and sign some more, and hopefully that says a 1 in front of the 4. But I want to thank all the kids, thank these guys, the leadership that I have, the way that the seniors welcome me in, and it's been a great experience, and looking forward to the future. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Coach. Thank you very much to our captains. Any thoughts from any of our captains? You don't have to. You can say thank you. Jack's got something to say.
I just want to say thank you to the whole town for supporting us all season and last season as well. It was a great experience playing for Carver football these 4 years. I just want to say thank you. So thanks for the time.
Thanks, Jack. Obviously, Darian, you want you to say something?
I just want to say thank you for everyone for the support. Growing up playing football for this town, it's been a great time. It's sad to come to an end, but overall I just want to say thank you for all the support I've had throughout all the years of playing football.
Go Crew.
Tegan? Cam? Good.
I think that they said it all, so
All right,
thank you.
Thanks, Cam. All right. So at this time, we'd actually invite the entire captains first and then the entire team to come up and see the Final Four trophy, which will go in the trophy case out in the foyer of the gym. And then the Final Four banner will have everybody sign. Then we'll turn that over to the athletic director, Ms. Kincaid, and she'll talk about where that's going to be displayed in the building this year. And while you're doing that, I'm not going to read your names and have you go up one by one, so I'll invite the whole team to go up. But as you go up the side, I do want to read the names of the players on the team.
Okay.
If that makes sense. All right. So guys, you can head over, and I'll just start reading people's names. But you don't have to come up. You don't have to come up as I read your name. You can just come as a group. Austin Aducci, Tegan Zakarewski, Nathan Helms, Colin Eakins, Jack Balzerani, Jacob Hyland, Amari Santos, Nolan Keneally, Tyler Terpstra, Darian King, Owen Holmes, Brandon Correa, Matthew Boudiette, Ryan Bump, Aiden Wild, Doug Centrella, Charles Filippo, Gabriel De Silva, Matt Durling, Alexander Bizdell, Giovanni Pina Miranda, Tyler Sotomayor, Aiden Cole, Matt Lennox, Ryan Wall, Jacob Gilbert, Patrick Crump, Jack Reed, Jordan Manning, Michael Brennan, Charles Lincoln, Joey Primo, and Cam LaRanger, our Carver High School football team. If we could have a round of applause for them. We'll give them a couple minutes to have everybody, give them the opportunity to have everybody sign the banner.
It's nice having so many things to celebrate. This year's just gone by way too fast. There she is. I was looking for Gina. But she's still. You take a picture of But she's stealthy like a ninja. I was looking for Gina, but she's stealthy like a ninja. She's already down there.
You guys want to do a picture with the whole team? It's probably tight. It's a big group.
Thank you. Congratulations. Yep, it's mass exodus. It's no problem.
All right, thank you, everybody. I know some of our football players actually have basketball practice right now, so they're going to be heading off to basketball practice. Maybe they want to stay here for a couple more minutes. I'm not sure.
No problem.
Or they want to go off to basketball.
Thank you so much for coming. Congratulations on an amazing season. Right? Bye. Thank you for coming. That's from last year. Okay, I was gonna say, wait. Oh, tennis ball. Someone lost a tennis ball.
Moment takes you, dude.
Thank you so much for coming. Congratulations. Yep. Nope.
All right, congratulations again to our MCAS recognition students and our football team. And I think we're ready to move into no, there actually are no comments from the APC tonight.
Okay.
Mr. Pinto's not able to make it.
Okay. So we have elementary student ambassadors with us today.
All right, so yeah, we're
on
proud to welcome Harper Miller and Alea Sisk. Ayla. Sorry, Ayla. Ayla Sisk.
Welcome everybody, I'm Ayla. I'm Harper, and we are student ambassadors from Carver Elementary School, and we want to share some of the great activities happening at our school.
This year, our third grade students cleaned up around our campus. They picked up all the trash and litter surrounding the school. It's nice that they could help our environment.
The prizes for the classes who collected the most litter, had the most teamwork, and positive attitudes.
As a reward, those classes received extra recess.
My brother said he found a dirty diaper in the wood.
That's so gross.
Ew. Spirit Week is a week in October where students got to participate in the Shane Gives Thanks food pantry donations.
They also got to have a funny hat day, dressed like a teacher day, sports day, and a grade-wide color battle.
Altogether, the school students were able to donate about 200 canned goods to the Shane Gives Thanks food pantry. Chorus and student ambassadors went to the JFK Museum and Library to learn about leadership and to perform.
There was a huge room with windows and walls made out of glass.
You could see Boston in the distance. It was educational, and we watched a video about John F. Kennedy.
The artifacts taught us lots about him and what he did for the world. The Veterans Day Assembly was an assembly to honor the veterans and the sacrifices they made for our country.
We had veterans come to our school while a chorus sang and band performed songs.
There were so many people. Then veterans were escorted to our classrooms to teach students and teachers about their experience as a veteran.
The kindergarten Thanksgiving feast was for the kindergartners to show thanks for what they are thankful for, while also be able to enjoy the food with their friends.
The kindergartners loved the food and decorations. They loved being able to enjoy a feast without having to be all fancy and proper.
Of course, they still followed school expectations.
The first graders loved performing for their families. They learned the dances, words, and hand signals for Christmas songs.
They made their decorations and outfits perfect for performing this show.
The first graders had so much fun singing and dancing for their families. Overall, everyone who was there had an amazing time.
The all-school assembly was about our book and theme this year. Our book is Change Things.
The book is about how everybody has the ability to make a positive change in the world. We also take this time to announce the staff and faculty member of the month. Teachers are able to nominate students champion of change that have helped raise money for charities,
help the environment, and help change the world around them. Have a great evening.
And remember,
above all,
be kind.
All right, Hopper and Ayla, thank you.
Thank you so much for that update. I love hearing about what's happening at the elementary school. Okay, so this brings us to the comments from the general public portion of our meeting. So if there's anyone here in the auditorium with us that would like to speak, you are more than welcome to come up to the table, sit at the microphone, and you'll have 2 minutes. 3 minutes. All right. Seeing no movement towards the microphone, we shall move along to the approval of minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes to approve tonight.
I move that we approve the November 18th, 2024 open session minutes.
A second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
And I move that we approve the November 12th, 2024 joint meeting of the Select Board, School Committee, and Capital Outlay Committee meeting minutes.
I second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. That brings us to communications and the Reed's quarterly report.
So there are 2 communications for the school committee this evening. First is just Reed's regular quarterly report, which you often get in your background. Tells you what's been happening over at Reed's Academy. And then the second one is our NEASC accreditation letter. So we were notified on Friday of last week. We received the official notification that the school has continued accreditation through the NEASC process. Mrs. Corral is going to talk more about that because that's actually on our agenda this evening. She's going to give a little overview of the report of findings from the NEASC committee, but we were excited on Friday to get the official written notification that we have received continued accreditation.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. So, is NEASC next? No. Okay, so
Reads
both of those
first.
are covered?
Yeah, both those covered, yeah.
Okay, so just gonna go into reports from the superintendent then?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
that's why I'm like, wait a minute. I couldn't
I didn't
open
bring
the
them both
background
up as far as you
document,
know,
so,
they were
okay.
in your background.
No problem.
And I didn't want to spend too much time on the NEASC accreditation letter because Mrs. Cabral's going to give us a great presentation on the report.
Okay, no problem, thank you.
So personnel updates, so we are excited. We have hired Madeline Goslin as the fifth grade inclusion teacher. She started today. We know that's been an open position in the district that we've had to take some time to fill. So we're excited that we filled that position, that now at this time all of our teaching positions are filled, even though I know it's late in the year, it's December 9th, but everything is filled. And then we also hired Caitlin Fisk as the ESP at the elementary school. That's our only staff movement since our last meeting. So that brings us right into Mrs. Cabral and the NEASC report review.
Okay, great, welcome, Mrs. Cabral.
I'm going to learn
Welcome,
from,
Christine.
what's that?
I said welcome.
I'm going to learn from the student ambassadors and use my laptop to read off of. So we're really excited to get the letter and it's finalized that we continue to maintain our accreditation. I'm going to start tonight by just briefly reviewing a timeline for our work here in the process. So in 2021, faculty, staff, admin completed a self-assessment of our work here at Carver Middle High School, which included all of the standards and foundational elements identified by NEASC, and we provided them with our report and our findings. And then in 2022, a NEASC visiting team actually came to Carver Middle High School and they did their own assessment on us in those areas. And they produced a report. And in that report, they identified 5 priority areas, which I'll go over tonight because that's what they evaluated us on last spring. So they identified 5 priority areas for us to focus our work. And then in 2023, we provided them with an action plan that said this is what our work and the steps we're going to take to address those priorities. And then they came and visited us in the spring, and it was a team of, I think it was 5 people that spent several days here in classrooms and meeting with various groups of people. And then they reported their findings on our work in those areas, and we received that report just in October, and then we got our accreditation letter just last week. So the next slide, in the accreditation letter, they listed a long list of commendations, and the very first 2 spoke loudly to me. I'm really proud of them, so I just highlighted those 2 on this slide. The commendations were the commitment, the school's commitment to focus all that is done in the school on students' well-being and achievement. And the second was the safe, positive, respectful, and inclusive culture that ensures equity and honors diversity in identity and thought. And throughout this presentation, I will highlight some other commendations. The next slide, we had to evaluate ourselves towards all of these foundational elements, and then the team evaluated us as well, and we ranked we all agreed in our rankings on these. So where we meet, the school said we meet, and the team also said we meet. The school community provides a safe environment. The school has a written document describing its core values and beliefs about learning and the vision of the graduate. We meet, the school has a current school improvement plan. The school has intervention strategies designed to support students. And the community and district provides school buildings and facilities that support the delivery of curriculum programs and services. The one foundational element that we did not meet was that there is a written curriculum in a consistent format for all courses in all departments. But we knew we weren't going to meet that because the middle school math curriculum they just initiated the illustrative math curriculum, and the teachers just started working with that last year, and we made the decision that we're going to let them focus on implementing it and living it before we actually work on our curriculum documents and embed vision of the graduate. So we knew we weren't going to meet that, but we're working on that now. So now I'll go through each of the priority areas. I'll apologize. Presentation Rules 101 don't read directly from your slides, but I'm going to read a lot directly from my slides tonight, just because it was a 44-page report, and I've narrowed it down to the highlights and the important things, but in that it's not entertaining. I'm just going to read it to you for the most part. So our first priority area was to establish the vision of the graduate, which we did, and I've explained to the committee before about our process and how we rolled that out. But to develop a vision of the graduate that embodies diversity, equity, and inclusion, includes the skills, knowledge, and understandings and dispositions necessary for future success, and fully integrates a vision of the graduate into a written curriculum in a consistent format for all courses across all departments. So we did do the work and created that document, and we're continuing to work on this. They gave us some accommodations and some recommendations for next steps. The goal of this report is we will continue to work on these 5 priority areas, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But accommodations in our work in this area, the school's core values, beliefs about learning, and vision of the graduate that are beginning to drive student learning, professional practices, learning support, and the provision and allocation of learning resources. The initial stages of embedding the vision of the graduate into classroom lessons, and we continue our work in that area. And the initial stages of implementing digital portfolios to measure student progress. So we have teachers who are piloting groups of students during WIN block and talking to those groups, and we're just trying to create portfolios and talk with kids about the work they're doing across the curriculum and having them actually upload things into the portfolio. So I don't know if that's going to be the end product of how we measure student progress or create those, but that's where we're experimenting with that right now. So the recommendations from the report, to provide ongoing professional development opportunities. So we need to give time for teachers to develop strategies to incorporate these skills into their documents and their practices, and we've already done that with some PD time this year. Determine measurements for growth, then incorporate these into the school improvement plan. I just met with my school council, and I shared some of this with them and said we need to keep in mind how we're going to incorporate this into our improvement plan next year. And create and implement formal process to assess and communicate individual learner progress toward achieving the vision of the graduate. Again, we're experimenting with the portfolios. Also want to note, in the report, the recommendations that are in the feedback from each priority area, those are recommendations from the visiting team. We don't need to, that was just their observations and their feedback for us to keep things moving forward. We don't need to incorporate all of these recommendations. In fact, in the slides I'm presenting tonight, I reviewed it, and these are some things that I know we're going to be working on. So that's why I've chosen to share some of those particular recommendations with you. So our second priority area was to expand the Carver Pathways programs and project-based learning, PBL, to provide inclusive and equitable opportunities for all students. So in their observations in the spring, we've done an awful lot of work in these 2 areas. The accommodations listed are the frequent engagement of students in active learning strategies, including learning that is personalized, relevant, and authentic, especially through PBL. The school's focus on pathways in PBL and its commitment to authentic learning tasks situated in real-world tasks. Again, just widespread use of PBL that promotes and fosters the development of transferable skills. The school's focus on connections with industry partners, that's through the internship program, and pathways. And then our 8th grade exploratory, which has supplemented the allied arts rotation and gives our 8th grade students exposure to each one of the pathways to kind of guide their course selection for high school. Not that they need to take a pathway, but that they understand what's available to them. So the recommendations for priority area number 2, to engage staff in PBL through training and ongoing professional development. So really a lot of this report is going to guide our PD over the upcoming years. To expand PBL opportunities for comprehensive health in the visual and performing arts, and to develop a method of measuring success beyond graduation, such as an alumni survey, and how to keep in touch with our graduates, and hopefully they can support our internship programs. Then moving on to priority area number 3, provide more opportunities for teacher collaboration, both departmentally and across multiple grade levels, to foster diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's through PBL, the Pathways Program, curriculum revision, the use of data, including the MAP assessment to inform instruction. So over the past few years, we've done a lot of work in this area as well, and this is a lot to do with the new schedule, that we're in our 3rd year of living this new schedule, which allows for a lot more time for teacher collaboration. So the commendations in this priority were the interdisciplinary collaboration between and among subject areas fostered by the school's Strong Pathways program. We're commended for the time and structure for collaboration during the school day, and the ample research-based professional development provided to designated staff in key areas. So to continue our work in this area, they've recommended to ensure staff receives, again, more professional development on the vision of the graduate in all of these areas, the PBL, the pathways, social emotional learning, for consistency across departments and horizontally and vertically on instructional practices to ensure effective collaboration as appropriate. I had several meetings with representatives from NEASC as we got the report and reviewed it and went back to them. And really, they want staff to have an awareness, not that everyone's going to be an expert in all of these things, but for everyone to be planning PD time so that everyone's aware of what's happening in the building and what our kids have available to them. And we're planning on, in February, to do, like we had the showcase in the spring, we'll have the showcase again for the community. I'm planning like a faculty showcase with the faculty meeting time and then the half-day PD time in February. It will give us 3 hours in 1 week I'm going to create a schedule where staff is going to rotate through the building and see students presenting in each one of the pathways areas, and they can see them actually like where their passion is, and have the students articulate to teachers and wait for teachers to see what they're learning and where they excel in different areas. Another recommendation for them in priority area number 3 is to define clear objectives. And again, these are things that I pulled out that I think that these are good recommendations for us for next steps, to actually define clear objectives and strategies for attendance for using collaboration time, just to ensure we're using our collaboration time effectively. And then also to determine ways to measure how instructional practices are being informed and improved by the use of data. But it's going to be PD time. Like, how do we have it? I just need time. Priority area number 4 is to enhance students' academic and social emotional development by strengthening relationships between students and adults, integrating restorative justice practices, promoting equitable practices, and ensuring inclusivity throughout the school. A lot of this work has been done over the years through our special education department. They've done a great job. The accommodation in the report noted in this area is the timely, coordinated, and directive intervention strategies for all students, including identified and at-risk students, that support student success and well-being. We have a lot of interventions available for students, and a lot of programming and placements for kids as well. So their recommendations in this area is to embed SEL strategies into the written curriculum with subject-specific guidance and ensure school-wide use. So we have a lot of curriculum work to focus on. And to ensure inclusive practices to promote belonging. One more, our last one, to update our current grading policies to align with the school's beliefs about learning. I have a committee of teachers who voluntarily have met with me once a month over the course of the last 2 years, and they continue to this year. But we're getting more and more passionate about our discussions in this area. Teachers have volunteered to do training, trainings for teachers to just gain knowledge on how to best use Aspen and how it impacts a student, depending on how you set up our grading systems. and let people decide, like, is the grade really showing what I want the grade to show, right? We've also attended some professional development this year, and we're bringing back what we're learning and talking to faculty and having conversations with them. So the recommendations from the report were to review current practices and policies and identify goals relative to grading, to research best practices for grading and assessment, which we are doing, to provide ongoing professional development focused on grading practices, support, and resources as needed, and we're doing that as well, and to revise the teacher comment list for report cards. We can certainly do that. We haven't looked at that for several years, and we'll probably get that done soon this year. So the reflections on student learning, I wanted to highlight this because if you look at the report, there's several pages, there's 7 paragraphs in the report on reflections on student learning. What this slide shows is the first sentence of each one of those paragraphs, and it's really positive. I'm really proud of it, so I'll read through them. The instructional practices sometimes include strategically differentiating, individualizing, and personalizing based on student learning needs. Students often engage in active learning strategies, including personalized, relevant, and authentic learning. Educators frequently provide students with choice, pursuit of personal interest, and opportunities for creative expression. Learners regularly engage in inquiry, problem solving, and higher order thinking skills. Learners demonstrate learning through various assessment strategies that inform classroom instruction and curriculum. Learners have multiple opportunities to demonstrate their learning, receive corrective feedback, and use this feedback in meaningful ways to support their learning. And learners use technology across all curricular areas to, at times, support, enhance, and demonstrate their learning. So I thought that was really powerful, just to take the first sentence from each one of those paragraphs, but lots of positive things there, lots of positive feedback. The report also included these accommodations that I just wanted to note: the use of technology in student learning across the school buildings and facilities that support the delivery of curriculum programs and services, and then the support we have for funding from the community. And there's lots of great spaces, I say it all the time, that we're really supported by the community of Carver. And while we're an old facility, I was proud that they noted that we're supported by the community. And then these are the overall recommendations that we do need to focus on. So while I mentioned the other recommendations that I've reviewed, those were optional feedback from the team. But the final report includes these 3 overall recommendations. That is that we ensure instructional practices across the school include strategic differentiation, individualization, and/or personalization based on individual student learning needs. That we ensure all students receive consistent, systematic, specific, and timely corrective feedback and are afforded opportunities and time necessary to revise and to improve their work, and to develop and implement a formal tiered system of interventions to support classroom instruction and a more formally defined process to identify and refer students who need additional assistance and support. So now my work is, like I said, I went over this a little bit with my School Improvement Council tonight. In my meetings with NEASC representatives, they said we got a tremendous amount of work done in the time that we have. They said 5 priorities is a lot. They were surprised that we were assigned 5 priority areas, and they have suggested to me that through our school improvement plan and what we're noting what our work is going to be in the future, that I don't think any of these are going away next spring. I'm not saying that. But over time, that we should try to, through the school improvement plan, we can narrow this down to maybe 3 priority areas to continue our work in those areas. Not that any of these will ever go away. Like if we decide vision of the graduate is we're going to say that's done, we'll always be continuing our work with that, but we're going to say it's alive and well, and we can take that off of our list for now. And I have to provide NEASC a report next October that's going to tell them what steps we've taken over the course of this year and what our work is going to look like moving forward. So that was a lot. Any questions?
Well, before questions, I'd just like to thank and commend Mrs. Cabral and the middle high school administrative staff, the teachers, Dr. Erickson, for all their work that they put into the NEASC process. And it was real and it was meaningful work, which is important, in terms of pushing that agenda of developing the vision of the graduate, developing our pathways programs, focusing on project-based learning for our students, development of social-emotional learning. And these were all initiatives that were starting and became our priority areas, and the process of going through accreditation really supported that. But it was because of the tremendous work of the team at the middle high school that we did make great strides in all those areas. So I'd like to just thank Mrs. Cabral for all she did with her team.
Hear, hear.
Nice work.
You did a great job.
It was a lot of work.
It was a lot of work.
We appreciate your efforts and those of your team and all of the staff. Our students are very lucky to have such a dedicated administrative team and staff, so thank you very
They
much.
couldn't do it without the teachers. I mean, it was really a collective effort to get it done. And as Scott just said, it's real. It's meaningful. It's definitely got us moving in a great direction. And I was just really proud of the report and the feedback from the visiting team.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you.
So next we're excited to have Dr. Erickson talk a little bit about a curriculum review cycle that the district is in the process of developing. We've been working with development of the cycle with our administrative team, department chairs, and elementary team leaders. And Meredith's going to share a little bit about our process.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Erickson.
Thank you. I apologize. My voice isn't great tonight, so thank goodness for magnification.
Mrs. Cabral is pointing out that David Savastano has come in to receive his MCAS recognition.
Okay.
So we could do that?
Yep, absolutely.
That's okay.
No problem.
I like this. It's a nice break from the boring stuff for the
I
fun.
didn't know if David was here. Some of our students are here to do
Right?
for-
That was
as part of
stimulating.
Our community service.
Not that that was boring. I meant like the.
Hi, David Savastano for Exceeding Expectations inside MCAS exam.
Do you want your picture taken with the whole school
We
committee?
do. We did a picture of the whole school committee. You get a special picture. We can do it.
I'm like full of.
You and the whole school committee.
Yeah.
Personalized attention.
Good one, too. Just want to take the picture.
We're proud of you. It's awesome work.
Oh, you gotta take a picture.
Squeeze just a little bit.
The sick person is staying out.
Thank you. I shouldn't have said boring. I should have said serious stuff. An interruption of the serious stuff.
Okay, so now back to Dr.
Now more
Erickson.
exciting, Dr. Erickson and the curriculum review cycle.
I feel this intense pressure to be super engaging.
No, I'm so sorry.
I'm just teasing. All joking aside, this is serious because one of the key standards, we have 4 standards when we look at teacher and leadership performance, and one of those standards, the very first one, is curriculum planning and assessment. And so my presentation is going to be anchored in the fact that what we teach and how we choose what to teach is one of the key components to every student having the opportunity to succeed. So Newer to Carver, apparently it existed a few decades ago, but then went by the wayside. Newer to Carver, but not new to curriculum leadership kind of nationally and internationally, is this notion that districts adopt a curriculum review cycle. In English, what that means is that there is kind of a clear calendar for having an opportunity to look at the curriculum and to be able to make sure that it is aligned with our Massachusetts state frameworks, which are our local regulation here in the Commonwealth of what we teach, and that our teachings are current so that we have an opportunity to infuse real-world examples in that, and that we are ensuring that as we teach these that we're focused on students. And then that next piece, guaranteed and viable, is kind of an industry term for being able to have enough time to teach the material and to go deep enough. So sometimes you'll hear about something like curriculum bloat. I know a lot of reading programs are considered frustrating because of curriculum bloat. It means that there's way too much to teach in 180 school days. So we're looking at how are we implementing curriculum to ensure that we're guaranteeing that we teach it and that we have enough time to make it feasible. And then that last line, again, is an industry term. When it says vertical articulation and horizontal coherence, that means how is the content knowledge scaffolded so that every year students are gaining more and more, or it spirals in a way that makes sense. And then horizontal coherence would be across the same grade level. So if you have 6 teachers in a grade level, how are we sure that students are getting a similar experience to access content in all of those grades and in all of those classrooms? So with a curriculum review cycle, what we do is we basically develop a calendar over 10 to 12 years, and we look at all the different content areas, and we say, hey, we need to engage in a 2 to 3 year curriculum review process. Usually this is done in concert with the state frameworks being revised. So they might revise them, and then the next year or the year after we start a curriculum review process to look at those changes. But that's been a little bit difficult. Just prior to COVID, all 4 core content areas were revised in a 2-year span, and then they've since added a lot of other content areas that had been left by the wayside. For example, comprehensive health and PE, which had not been revised since 1999, recently came out. World languages came out, art and music came out. So it's been a little bit of a bottleneck in that sense. But through the review process, what we would do for each content area is establish norms and a scope of our work, and then look at a combination of what the data currently suggests in terms of where our students are strong and weak, and also really looking at best practices and current research, because we know that that changes over time as learning science and cognitive science reveal new insights. We want to make sure that we leverage that, and then we have an opportunity to engage all of our stakeholders. So what we've done in the past, and this is not new information for you because we've presented on these mechanisms before, but when we were adopting a new literacy and a new math curriculum at the elementary, what we talked about is engaging teachers beyond just the curriculum council to make sure that we design a district-wide or a school-wide vision for the content area, and then give teachers in teams the opportunity to take the data, to take the current best practice in research that we present, and to take that vision and have them work have them work to define the ideal classroom for that grade span. So what does an ideal kindergarten literacy classroom look like? What does an ideal 3rd grade math classroom look like? And so on and so forth. And then once we've established that, it gives teachers an anchor to unpack the frameworks and establish a communication plan for further input, where we can go through and develop a rubric based on the ideal classroom. We can review materials. We can continue to report out to teachers and their constituents. We can plan professional development. We can make sure that the professional development that we're implementing aligns with materials, that we gauge student growth with our universal screeners to see if it's working, and then we continue to action plan. So that's like the big, large loop of a curriculum review process. And then from that, in an ongoing process, we will always continue to review the data as we do here with MCAS or internally when we look at classroom, grade level, and department level data. And then we use that to inform our next steps and to continue an action plan or to make mid-course corrections if we notice that, hey, we were going to devote a lot of time to X and we've already achieved that. We need to obviously pivot accordingly. So that is, in general, what a curriculum review cycle looks like. There are budgetary implications for this, and Scott and Ron might be able to talk with more veracity than I can. But since I joined the district 12 or 13 years ago, when it comes to purchasing curriculum, we haven't had a line item that has been set aside every year to be able to say, hey, we're devoting time and resources and professional development to ensure that we have a strong approach to these different areas. So when we have been able to get curriculum, oftentimes it either has had to be funded through a warrant article or through a different budgeting mechanism. So looking forward to Ron's budget presentation in the new year, you will see a line item that speaks to this work. So right now,
the district actually hasn't had a line item for curriculum revision since I became an administrator. The last time we had was 2001, which was my first year as an administrator in the district. And then after 9/11, there was a little bit of a budget downturn. I'm struggling with words tonight. And that was actually a reduction in that year. It was reduced that curriculum revision line item, and that's something that hasn't actually returned. But we think it's important to return that.
Agree.
thank you. And just to emphasize the importance of that, it's been almost 2 entire generations of students, right? If an entire generation goes through every 13 years, right? It's been a long time since we've been able to really dedicate and focus on this work, which again is one of the most important elements of what we do. So this is a sample schedule of how this might be laid out. And you'll notice that the first 4 content areas are the 4 core, so English, language arts, math, science, technology, engineering, and then history, social science. Because of the number of teachers that impacts, those would have 3-year cycles. Again, this is pretty customary, and there are activities that occur in each of those 3 years as we unpack and as we plan professional development and try on curricular resources. You'll notice at the bottom 4, which are digital literacy, computer science, comprehensive health PE, art, music, and culinary, hospitality, and then world language and English language education. There are far fewer teachers involved in those content areas. It might be 3 in the entire district or 2 in the entire district. So you'll notice that there's a much smaller time frame to devote to that. The other thing that I tried to do with this is marry a core content area with a companion a content area that makes sense. So English language arts, it made sense to do that with world languages and with English language. It made sense to connect math and computer science, and then comprehensive health and PE because of the biology thread in there, and then art and music with history and social science. So that is the general layout, but the intention again is to be proactive instead of reactive. And I would love to answer any questions that you might have.
Does anyone have any questions? Thank you for putting this together and for presenting it. I think it's really important that for us to be aware, but also for the community to be aware that this is work that's going to be done. So hopefully we can get community support to move forward with having a long-standing line item in our budget for curriculum.
And the only thing I want to point out is, obviously I made the comment that budget line item was removed in 2001. Yep. Certainly we've been revising and updating our curriculum,
yes,
but it hasn't been hasn't been a systemic place to say,
Yep.
okay, this is where the money's going to come from.
Yep.
So every year it's kind of been catch as catch can, and it hasn't always been in this type of cycle. It's always been needs-based. And say, okay, this framework's been updated, okay, we have to do that one. Instead of just having it be a continuous cycle, which I think makes a lot of sense and something that we should really be doing.
Thank you. As we have rolled this notion out and worked with our department chairs and our elementary lead teachers, it's also nice for them to be able to communicate with their teachers that this is coming and this is when our time is coming up, because that helps people plan summers and helps them plan what they're doing in regards to looking at this curriculum as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much. That is great. Great
So-
to see.
Dr. Erickson stays up with a presentation on the Maths Life Sciences Center grant. So we want to thank Dr. Erickson for her work with the science department in terms of applying for this grant. The district's done, or Dr. Erickson really has done a great job of seeking out grant opportunities. So we applied for and received a grant from the Massachusetts Life Science Center in the amount of $47,523. And Dr. Erickson is going to talk a little about that and how we're going to be using those funds.
Thank you. I think this is naturally engaging, so I feel less of a need to perform. So as you
now, because you were wonderful and you're wonderful, and I just was excited.
I'm just giving you a hard time. So as we've talked before about pathways, we have made a distinction between our pathways that are designated as innovation career pathways by the state. And we know from previous grant presentations that there has been an influx of a lot of support, financial support and otherwise, for those innovation career pathways. So anytime we have the chance to grab a different type of funding for any of our pathways, we jump on that. And so I want to credit Stacy Waitner, one of the teachers in our biotechnology pathway, who was able to find this grant, and she was really helpful as we sat down last year to start planning it, and I was able to look at the grant requirements and start writing it. She was integral in making sure that I had the necessary information that I needed so that we can move forward with this. So just a quick reminder of what biotechnology is, because it's a term that can sometimes be confusing to folks. It's the application of biological processes, organisms, or systems to develop products, technologies, or solve problems that improve human life, the environment, and industrial processes. This won't show up on a test later tonight, I promise. But really, it's any lab work devoted to that. So you can see by our scope and sequence in our biotech pathway, it includes everything from the introductory STEM inquiry lab, where students get some hands-on lab experience that also provides a gateway to our environmental ag sciences class. And then after that, they have a chance to take career in life science, which is a class that they like that really looks at how this content connects to the future. And then a biotechnology methods lab. And then other opportunities in anatomy and physiology. A lot of these classes are classes that our students would take anyways, such as bio and chem and anat and phys and AP bio, but it's nice to have it in the articulated scope and sequence. So the scope of the grant was to make sure that through the grant monies that we prepare students for the industry sector, that we integrate real-world opportunities, that we hone in on teacher training and learning, that we make sure that there is a logical skills progression as students move through those courses so that they are interacting with rigorous and developmentally appropriate skills, but that those grow and that they're marketable when they leave, and then to provide up-to-date resources. In terms of the technical scope, we wanted to make sure that we have that relevant skills list, that we continue to develop project-based learning so that it's really applicable to something that is meaningful in real world, that students participate in a 4-year MyCap, which is a fancy acronym that the state uses for planning. Our guidance department is amazing, and they actually have all of our students students on a 4-year MyCap, which allows them to kind of plan their 4 years here at the middle high school in service of what they think they might do when they graduate. And they can always change that and move it around as they engage in career exploration activities. And then to consider, right now, an internship in biotech is not a requirement of the pathway. It's why many students opt into this pathway, because they feel like they can fit it into their schedule differently. But we want to increase the amount of students that are involved in a senior internship. So to complete this work, we have resources, $12,000 for teacher training and learning, so $12,000 for professional development. We already have started to engage in that, and then we actually have a 2-day session this Thursday and Friday during our Teacher Choice Day. The remaining $37,000 and change is for supplies and materials, and then to also make sure that teachers have time to implement this. The other aspect is we want to measure the impact. For example, I put down here pre and post tests. So those, again, are skills-based before students participate and after students participate. So actually, this autumn, we were able to connect with the grantor, and I took this very long wish list that our biotech teachers had, and we were able to pretty swiftly procure through the grant all of the materials that they asked for. So I took some pictures because we've already had students start working on some of these. So you'll notice these are pictures of microscopes. They're actually called trinocular scopes, which is a word that I had never heard of before. We know that most microscopes are binocular, but you'll notice the little Modica camera on the top. And that camera makes it a trinocular, so there are actually 3 lenses. And this allows students to do digital capture of what they see on their slide. They can then take that and manipulate the digital capture to be able to write on it and label it to identify different areas of the cell, as opposed to just looking at it and trying to draw it by hand, which is what I experienced in the 1990s. Additionally, there's a lot more opportunity for collaboration through this. The other things that we got is we were able to get a sub-zero freezer. We were able to get micropipette kits, a lot of genetics materials for our continuation of electrophoresis. And so the idea is that we're turning a classroom that was decently equipped into something that's more state-of-the-art through this grant. So I just wanted to give a shout out to the teachers involved with this. In addition to Stacey Waitner, we also have Brian Wachowski, and then several of our middle school teachers, including Alex Guerrero and Julia Whalen, are also participating because they help with some of those exploratory and STEM lab practices. So we want to make sure, again, that we have that vertical articulation throughout the whole department. So with that said, I just want to say thank you for your support and ask if you have any questions.
I do want to point out to the committee that you did vote approval of the grant at an earlier meeting through a financial update, but just wanted to, this evening we wanted to give you some information about what we're actually doing with those funds.
Sounds amazing. Yeah, much better than having to write on the slide. Yep. That's so incredible. Thank you for everyone that was involved in bringing that grant to the district and working hard to get those funds and putting this up to state-of-the-art equipment in our students' hands. It's an amazing opportunity. So thank you very much. Thank you for the information. Very exciting times again. Okay, so that brings us to upcoming events for December and January, which is just unfathomable. This year is going by so fast. So
obviously over the next couple of weeks we have our all of our holiday concerts. Tomorrow night is the band and high school chorus holiday concert. Thursday is the elementary winter concert, and then next Tuesday is the middle school band and choral concert. We have our traditional trip to New York coming up this Thursday. Hopefully it'll be a nice day. Hopefully that'll be exciting for everybody. And then we do want to point out, we do have I think people know this, but we do have 2 weeks for the holiday break, for the Christmas vacation, from December 23rd to January 3rd, coming back on January 6th. And then when we come back in January 6th, we'll get ready with a lot of exciting things going on. I know our goal here is always kind of just share with the community the events that are happening. All of these events are on the school calendar, they're referenced on the website, and we encourage the members of the community to be active and participate in all the great things that are happening at the school.
There's a lot to choose from, so thank you. I don't know where the time has gone. It's just flying by. Okay, so that brings us to recommendations from the superintendent.
Yep. The first recommendation this evening is, based upon the incident of the graffiti with the racial slur at the middle high school over the Thanksgiving weekend, I thought it'd be appropriate to bring back the school committee's anti-racism resolution and maybe talk about that and reaffirm that. It was originally passed in 2022, so I'll review the resolution and I would make a recommendation that we vote to affirm it. Just as an update on where we stand in that process, so we do have video surveillance footage at the school, and right now this is being actively investigated by the Carver police, actually in coordination with the Plymouth police. So what we did find out is that on the Friday evening after Thanksgiving, we did have several people in the parking lot, several cars in the parking lot. I'm saying people because we haven't been able to identify any of those people as of this time, and the police are actively involved in that process. But we do know that similar cars were actually in the schools of Plymouth North High School and Plymouth South High School, and that on the same evening at the same time when this occurred, the goalpost padding from Plymouth North High School had been removed from Plymouth North High School, and one of the pads had been placed on the goalpost here at Carver High School. And there was an attempt to place a pad at Plymouth South High School, but they were unable to access the field. The other two schools did not have any graffiti, so we were the only school that had some graffiti. But there seems to be, we're making some conjecture here, but it seems like these three events are certainly related. And now, the Carver police and the Plymouth police are working hard to see if they can identify the students who are responsible for that act of graffiti and vandalism at our school, and then obviously at a much smaller extent at Plymouth North by removing their goalpost padding and bringing it to another school. So that's kind of the update on where that stands, and we'll continue to work and hopefully be able to come to a resolution and hold someone responsible for the graffiti. So if it's okay, even though I know I'm struggling tonight, I will do my best. I'll read the resolution to everybody. Whereas schools have the responsibility to equip students with their civil right of obtaining a free and appropriate public education, it is the responsibility of each school to ensure we create a welcoming community for all students. And whereas it is the responsibility that every school district provide to all staff, including school committee members, annual professional development on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And whereas every district will commit to recruiting and retaining a diverse and culturally responsive teaching workforce. And whereas every district will examine their policies for institution and systemic racialized practices and implement change with sustainable policies that are evidence-based. And whereas every district will incorporate into their curriculum the history of racial oppression and works by Black authors and works from diverse perspectives. And whereas, as the school district leaders can no longer remain silent to the issues of racism and hate that continue to plague our public and private institutions, it is resolved that the Carver Public School District must guarantee that racist practices are eradicated and diversity, equity, and inclusion is embedded in practice for our students, families, faculty, and staff. Was so resolved by the Carver School Committee in June of 2022. So it will be my recommendation, if the committee is willing, to reaffirm this resolution.
I move to reaffirm the school committee's anti-racism resolution.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Scott, for bringing this forward. I think it's important that we just let our community know that, the district is doing everything that they can to ensure those responsible are held accountable and to, move forward in a true sense of community. So thank you for the update with where that stands. And then that brings us to the financial update and budget transfers with Ron.
Hi, folks. So you've got a bunch of education financial related items in the news, both at the federal and state level. I'll kick you off with some information from the feds. If you've got a kiddo who's a junior in high school or senior in high school, you're probably very well aware that FAFSA is out. And Department of Education has been celebrating the launch this year, primarily because they had a really rocky launch last year. A little context for that. FAFSA, about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago now, really transitioned from traditional mechanisms to an online platform. Their online platform launched and just really wasn't up to snuff, didn't have the capacity, didn't have like the robust volume that it needed to take in that many applications. And so last year, we had a number of students across the Commonwealth, across the country, that just had delays in getting their FAFSA information, getting their financial aid information. And so in the wake of that, Department of Education, Federal Department of Education, they sort of doubled down their resources and efforts to update the platform, update the interface. They added additional staffing, they added additional sort of mechanisms within their online platform, and were able to release a new expanded platform just ahead of their December 1st schedule. So that's ongoing, but helpful information from the U.S. Department of Education regarding FAFSA. At the state level, state's just finishing up their closeout of FY24. It was, out on the floor of the House and the Senate last week, as I'm sure you read a little bit about. The big picture here is that the state ultimately had to use some one-time funding in order to close out 24. Revenues continue to lag behind. That's been a trend for, about 18 months or so. You probably heard me talking about it over the summer. And last spring as well. That trend has continued. There's been some bright spots month to month, but big picture, your state revenues are down quite a bit. What they had to do is essentially reappropriate some of their, one-time funds that would typically go to things like OPEB and like their rainy day in order to float and close out FY24. Certainly not ideal, and I have a quote down there at the bottom from, Senate Budget Chair Rodriguez, essentially saying like folks in Beacon Hill are pretty concerned about the state revenue trends as they go into FY26 and obviously the closeout for 25. So much more to come as we start to hit budget season, as the governor starts to put together her budget. We hope to see something from, at least the initial budget from the governor's office in late January, and we'll keep you posted on that. No new grant awards. We're closing out FY25 second quarter, so you can see the warrants there down to the penny as always. And before we close today, I would just request the committee vote to approve those so we can put those in the books. And I do have some transfers for you as we close out quarter two. Those up. So in your backup file there, you've got your budget as always down to the penny, and then you've got a tab here that just outlines all of your transfers. Again, I'll give you the highlights, but certainly feel free to ask any questions you've got about any of the accounts or any of the transfers. Your largest transfers we close out quarter two is going to be for your special education tuitions. Those are your collaboratives. We just had a kiddo who returned to Carver after leaving, and we have a 45-day placement, so you see the costs that are there. That second line, row number 3 that you see, is special education services related to a vocational student. Students who are at vocational schools, our community pays tuition for those students. If they require additional special education services, there's an additional fee on top of that tuition that covers those costs. The rest of these are relatively small, some additional software licenses over at the middle high school, some additional elementary supplies. We have the telecom services, about $1,600 there. It's just E-rate reimbursement coming in lower than projected. That fluctuates year to year. Your next line there is some new preschool equipment. We've got a couple of preschool kiddos who are coming in who have some unique needs, so we want to have some equipment ready for those kiddos. We had some HVAC repairs over at the elementary school, and then this is additional costs for the Reed's FSP program, Family Support Program. It provides like wraparound services for families who are in significant need. As always, all in, your transfers are net zero, and I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much, Ron. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Motion? Yes.
I move to
please.
approve the warrants as presented tonight.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
I move to approve the FY25 budget transfers as presented this evening.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, Ron. We appreciate the background agenda, and you're always giving us everything down to the penny, so we can review and ask questions as needed. So thank you very much for your transparency. Okay, so that brings us to reports from the school committee. Does anyone have anything they would like to report out?
I just want to say, with the very long extended Christmas vacation coming up, for the teachers and the students to enjoy.
Absolutely.
I agree. I know it's going to pose, right? Yeah,
Unusual, but here we are.
I know it's going to pose some challenges for some families, but I hope that all of our students and families and guardians and staff and everyone can take some time to connect with what brings them joy in the spirit of the season. And yeah, happy holidays. When is our next meeting? The
13th.
13th.
January
Of
13th.
January.
Yeah.
I don't know why December 20th is stuck in my head, but it must be a different meeting. But January, so that
January,
means,
yeah.
so that's all kinds of holidays between now and then. Happy New Year. And, right,
Hanukkah.
yeah, absolutely, so many.
Hanukkah and Christmas run that start, Hanukkah starts on Christmas this year.
Oh, wow, interesting. I know they align sometimes. But hope everyone has a wonderful holiday season, a good break. Again, be careful when it's rainy and snowy out there. Be mindful of new drivers, especially around this campus. And please don't pass school buses. We appreciate our drivers. It's hard out there, so just listen to whatever music brings you joy and sing and dance in your car while you're waiting for the lights to go so you can safely pass. Okay, so we are going to enter into an executive session. So that requires a roll call vote, correct?
Yeah,
To
motion,
enter?
a motion and a roll call
yes.
vote.
A motion, and then not to return to
Not to
the
return to
public session?
regular session.
I move that we adjourn the December 9th open session of the Carver School Committee to enter into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the EAPC and the non-union personnel if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body and the chair so declares, not to return to open session.
Second.
Excellent. We have a motion and a second. Again, this will be a roll call vote.
Jackie Lake, aye.
Kelly Nemi, aye.
Stephanie Clarity, aye.
Katie Sullivan, aye.
Bill Cullum, aye.
All right, so 7:20 p.m., the open session of the Carver School Committee meeting has adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.